Good morning and welcome to Second Sunday. I'm Jessica Alstrom and I am the creator of Transcendence International Consciousness Academy and the Quantum Revolution Tour, and this is your June energetic forecast. My students know it's Second Sunday because I'm standing, not sitting, so it's just a little change up from what we've been doing in class all week. We have really been kind of diving into the topics that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. June is an interesting month, and it is really always about kind of a fork in the road. You'll always kind of find this fork in the road in June. May has a tremendous amount of energy that kind of begins to really build up. But this June, 2019, is harsh. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Even the title of my Second Sunday, you know, it's going to make you or break you. Both aspects of that in duality, amazing, amazing potentials. You know, is it time to break something? Is it time to make something? It's really about both. What you're going to find this month is it's really about both of those concepts. You're going to feel a lot of full circle energy coming through. You're going to feel a lot of the past resurrecting. You're going to feel a lot of heavy, heavy emotions surfacing, and it's all a gift. It's a gift because we are starting out a 7-year cycle, and we are starting it rough and fast and dirty. And what I mean by that is that, you know, this ascension process is not waiting. It's not waiting. But healing is also not an option anymore. Healing is mandatory. And that is why we are sitting in these triggers right now. I know that every single one of my students, every single person that I'm working with, and when I tap into the collective, I can feel the absolute triggered state of being. And when we dive into our emotional feelings, which is really unavoidable at this point, we're realizing that the reason why we're so aware of everything that is around us is because we are aware. You see, the things that have happened to us in the past, we may or may not have been conscious for. You know, think about who you were when you were 5 years old and someone told you you weren't good enough. You probably brushed it off. It probably hurt your feelings, but you got on with your life. You know, you may have made some changes to kind of not feel that way. You may have relocated. You may have changed the way you dress. You may have changed your friends. You may have changed your outlook, but you didn't change the trauma. So what's happening right now energetically is we're all meeting everything kind of in the mirror. We're meeting all of those traumas in the mirror that we haven't been conscious enough to handle in the past. And they're surfacing in all kinds of lovely places that have our attention, like relationships, money, time issues, and of course, the lovingly delicious health issues that we have been dealing with on this planet for a really long time. You know, it's like we know more about outer space than we do about our own bodies, and it's really about changing that. Awareness and triggers are all about looking and deciding about like, who it is and what you choose to be. You know, triggers are not a bad thing, you guys. Triggers are an activation of a restimulation. It's about the wound coming back in from the past and saying, I'm still here. And this tone of voice and this manifestation and this situation is bringing it full circle. I'm still here. That's what a trigger is, you guys. A trigger is just basically a little signpost. I'm still here. You are still bothered by this. This frequency is still stuck in your vibrational craw, and it's time for you to heal it. And that's why it keeps coming up. And that's why it keeps coming back. Okay? So these things are not going to go away. They're not going to go away, but we have so much success going on in our work that we've been doing. Every one of us, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey or your scientific journey or your self-realization journey or whatever you're calling it these days. I don't know what the cool term is anymore. But I do know that we're all working on ourselves. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We are really kind of stuck in this place of, it's almost like our parent keeps putting us back into the messy room and saying, I'm going to stand at the door until this room is clean, right? And that parent is your higher self. The coolest thing about all of this is that higher self has really begun to embody this body. We have done so much work to kind of move out all of the surface-based traumas, the resistance energies, the codependencies, the secrets and avoidances, the perpetrator-victim energy that we have been playing out in loops. And we are making space in this body for higher self to be able to live, which means ego is now a backseat driver. So you're going to still hear its 2 cents. You're still going to hear the criticism. You're still going to feel the judgment occasionally. But you have a new driver in this vehicle, which is your body and its higher self. And yes, my higher self may not be living in the body full time, but it is a huge amount of time that you are actually dealing and working and living and commanding and manifesting with your higher self now. With that being said, when the higher self is present in the body, it likes to take full responsibility. It likes to create your reality. It likes to bring your focus into alignment, which means anything that's in the way of that, anything that's perpetual, low vibration storylines, belief systems, traumas, secrets, avoidances, shame, guilt, humiliation, fears, is going to be brought to your attention. It is going to be in your focal point. It is going to be right in front of you. And because higher self has a very, very, very large point of view and a point of awareness and a point of focus and a point of manifestation, which means that when higher self is in the body, manifestation is instant. You have an opportunity, we have an opportunity to utilize this right now and to change things for good. We have a new sheriff in town, and it is higher self. And the higher self that is living and breathing and working with this body more time than ever before is saying, you know what, really, really can't move forward in all those hopes and dreams you want until you really look at this relationship pattern. Look at this. Look at this money pattern you've got. We can't go forward. We can't go into the, beautiful, newly created vibration that's just one little millisecond to the left. We can't get over there. We can't do it if we still are focusing on, it's being so-and-so's fault, or, being afraid of money, or not, having good boundaries, or not charging what you're worth, or not speaking your truth. What you're finding right now is in your chronic manifestation is probably a trigger that just won't go away. Now, it may not be, it may be subtle. Some of you guys have done so much work on yourselves that these triggers that are coming in right now may be very subtle, but they're bringing up 2 frequencies right now, 2 emotions, grief and anger. Okay? And these are really powerful emotions for you to look at within yourselves. Grief is something we bury. Anger is something we use to either go find our power or to let go into grief. So both of those emotions are very important for you to actually feel this month, right? To allow yourself to be sad about things you've never been sad about. I know for a really long time in the spiritual community, we have all been taught to look for the positive aspect. We have been taught to look at things from a higher perspective. How would higher self see what's happening? Oh, it's all perfect and divine. Yes, it's all magical. It's all happening for me, not to me. We know that mantra very well if you've been in the spiritual community. But we're also human. And you know what? We're banging around and we're creating our lives, and we're in a human body, and we have emotions, and these emotions have built up and backed up, and they have stored themselves in different parts of our bodies called trauma, and they are vibrating just as well as higher selves, higher outlook. So we have still inside of us some pain that needs to be risen and cleared. And that's what is happening right now, is this pain that is inside of us is rising to the surface. You can see how amazing this is, but how terrifying this is, because you can't avoid it. You cannot avoid it. You cannot move, relocate, take a pill, change anything in the physical reality and have this pain go away anymore. It is literally just right there, right there. Every time you turn around, it is right there. You cannot move away from it anymore, which we've been doing for most of our lives. We'll clear some of the pattern, and then we go, okay, that's enough. And then let's quantum leap over into a new environment. Or let's clear a little this pattern, and let's decide that we don't like that type of relationships, and let's switch over here. But we've never really, 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 really pulled the root. And how you know if you don't have the root yet is it's still triggering you. You don't have the root of the pain if you're still bothered by it. If you're still triggered by it, emotionally moved by it, if you're not in a total state of neutrality about what is happening around you, through you, and to you, then there is some emotion that is still being avoided. Okay, and that's really where we're at right now, is we can no longer avoid. And what I'm teaching my students to do, which has been emotional and somewhat painful for us to go deeper than we've ever gone before into the shadows, is to go into the abyss. You see, the subconscious is usually where your inner child will work lovingly with you. It works in the idea of the quantum field, but also the Akashic records. And the inner child can navigate those shadow realms really, really easy. But what about the places that the inner child can't go? The places that are in your unconscious awareness, the traumas that you had as a child that you weren't even present for. You know, the ones where you kind of hopped out of your body and you weren't even present for what was happening. You know, the stuff that when you hire me, you say you can't remember. Well, that's all still buried in your body, in your emotional field, in your etheric field, and all of your field of potential, which means that that is still vibrating as a potential just as much as your hopes and dreams, because everything is vibrating at potential level, awaiting focus, awaiting manifestation, awaiting alignment. And what's happening with us is the unconscious is starting to move into the subconscious. And when the subconscious can grab hold of it, then we can work with it with the me, myself, and I, the mind, body, soul. The inner child can begin to navigate what's in there. And what we're noticing as a collective, right smack in the middle of June, is that the unconscious is starting to basically unlayer itself and move to the surface. The door of the abyss is beginning to open. And the traumas that we weren't conscious for, the decisions that we made, the belief systems that we created as children are now coming full circle for our attention. Look at what you decided about relationships. Look at what you decided about money. Look at what you chose to do with your body. Look at what you chose and are choosing to do with time, right? And I always use those four perspectives because let's just keep it simple. We're in a quantum universe, but we're human. And we're here to have the most amazing, extraordinary reality that we possibly can in human form, which means we're here to access more of our high vibrational potential than our constant low vibration potential of wounds and traumas and blah, 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 right? And I know it's been coming up big for me. It's been coming up big for my students. And it's all about us sitting down with this pain instead of medicating away from it. Even spiritual people do this, right? Think about it. And I'm going to tell you a secret. When you guys go and you do a meditation because you feel bad, or you go to a sound healing class, or you go get a Reiki attunement, or you do some sort of self-healing, that's fantastic. And it is absolutely lighting you up. Throat chakra. It's lining you up. It's getting you there. I have a frog in my throat. Where's my water? Hold on. I got water. I'm feeling all of you guys. So what's happening is we're saying, this is painful. I don't know what to do with this feeling. I'm going to move into a higher frequency. And what you're actually doing in your sound healing groups and your classes and all of those amazing things that we're doing right now is we're integrating more light into the body. We are becoming stronger. We're becoming more connected with our higher selves. And what happens is going to the sound healing or going into meditation does not change the current old belief system pattern. So what happens, it's almost like what we do is we take our bodies and we go, oh, I don't know what to do with this feeling. I don't know what to do with this trigger. I don't know what to do with this emotion. And we move into a higher frequency and we get an attunement and we get a session and we, work on ourselves. And then what happens is higher self says, great, now you're perfectly timed to return to the pattern. So it's like, wait, I thought that the meditation healed the pattern. No. What happens is you're a new version. You are completely new now because of the work that you've done on yourself. So higher self says, okay, let's put you back into that room. Let's put you back into that circumstance. Let's put you back into that problem. Let's put you back into that feeling. And you're going, oh wait, I thought that this over here healed this. But what's actually happening is we're becoming more of our higher selves. And so we have the courage, we have the awareness, we have more purpose within us, or a remembrance of our purpose, and we have more clarity so that when we do return to the pattern, we are more of who we truly, truly came to be. I hope that makes sense, because I think that that's a point that gets kind of confusing with us on the journey, is that we think that we can go and take all these classes and get all these certifications and you know, become attuned to this and that and this and workshop after workshop after workshop. But all that's doing is it's clarifying and strengthening our connection to higher self, so that when we return to the pattern, we can actually make it through. So don't be discouraged, guys, if you're finding yourselves back into those patterns, back into those places, back into those triggers. What you need to do is you need to sit down and go, right, I've just spent the last year in spiritual academia. I have literally gotten 4 new certifications. I have listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts. What do I have inside my toolbox now to deal with this situation that is sitting in front of the mirror, that is in my life, that is in my family? And you know what? I have a secret. It's as simple as making new choices. It really is. I wish I could say that you needed to do thousands of more hours of deprogramming, but you really don't. We're 2019. You got to decide what you want, and you got to method act it. You got to pretend it. You got to show up differently. You have to revisit the traumas that are coming up, and you've got to feel the grief. You've got to feel the fear. You've got to feel the anger, and you've got to let it be there with you, because it has something to tell you. It has some information about you that you were unpresent for when you created it. Because a lot of our programming, excuse me, I'm barefoot. A lot of our programming is happening from default, which means it happened without our consent, okay? It happened around us. And if you understand how a belief system is created, it's first observed, right? And then it's practiced, whether you choose to practice or not. Sometimes it's practiced on you, and then you become it. You believe it, and when you believe it, you become it, which means your whole character changes around that belief system, right? So your relationship with money, your relationship with your relationships, your intimate relationships, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your pets, your relationship with everything you can imagine, was first created and developed through observation, which means the best way to change a pattern, guys, is to observe what's going on and like, I don't think I like this part of this old belief system of relationships anymore. I think I need to make some changes. And then what happens is you start to make some changes, get some things called boundaries, learn to speak our truth, stand up for ourselves. If we need to use anger, it's there for us. Anger is an elevator emotion. It's going to help you get to a higher frequency, or it's going to take you into grief. Both are important. Seriously, guys, we got to get into grief at times. I know for a couple of weeks, every May, June, I usually deal with some sort of emotional breakdown. I'm human and I'm honest, right? It's my Gemini season. It all comes to a head. I got to sit back and process it. Anything that I'm more aware this year. See, it's almost like we're growing up. We're growing into our higher selves. And, you know, when we were kindergartners and we were waking up, we couldn't deal with every one of our traumas right away. We dealt with the kindergarten version of trauma that we could deal with. We scratched the surface, guys. And as we become more aware and more responsible and more determined and more purpose-driven and more connected to ourselves, this is when we go back to the roots. This is the only time we can go back to the roots, because a kindergartner could not understand the universe the way that you could understand the universe. And when I say kindergartner, I mean those who are just waking up. They're dealing with their surface traumas the best way that they can. And even with us, the ones who are taking, you know, crazy training courses and are out there on the front line teaching and mentoring, and we're all still digging up old rooted systems so that they can be cleared. Because really, you guys, where we're heading as a collective is a unified group of loving beings that can not only play nice with each other, but we can live nice with each other. We are in harmony with this planet. We are powerful manifestors and creators. And we are not living the lives and the rules of separation. We're not constantly sad about somebody's ego attacking us. We're not constantly worried that there's going to be bombs that are going to go off. Because all of this is just a reflection of the unprocessed stuff that's going on at the programming level. So I know a lot of you guys have been going through hell. And my advice is keep going. Don't stop this time. Don't get off the scary ride and find relief. Don't do it. And here's why. Because if you find relief right now, instead of continuing on the tunnel of darkness, you're just going to prolong this. You're going to prolong it. And it's a scary thing to think, well, what do I do? How am I going to make it through this, right? But that's what your mentors and your teachers and your gurus or whatever you want to call them are for. We've already gone through this and are going through this right now. And so we've got the flashlight. And you also have a flashlight in the dark, and it is your higher self. And you also have the magic inside of you, which is your inner child. And your inner child knows how to turn everything into fun. It turns everything into game. It knows how to find excitement when there's no excitement. Well, we've got to latch on to that. We've got to give our purpose, our ego, a new purpose and a new identity, which means ego's purpose is not to drive this body anymore and control the mind. Its job is to help us focus on purpose and happiness and love and discipline and commitment, the type of commitment that doesn't leave us in attachment. Ego's job from now on is not to become codependent and stay in fear, but to learn how to be an individual and a unified space where love can be present and safe within your body. That's ego's new job. And it's going to take you a little bit of time to restructure your ego identity into that. But this isn't a time when we're destroying our ego. This is a time when we're loving it. Ego knows how to get into the darker places that inner child can't find. You're going to have to remember some of these traumas. And you don't actually need to go and have any sort of hypnotherapy to find that. Just look in your current vibration. Look in your current reality. Look in what is manifesting right now in your life. Think about it. Take stock. Look at everything that's going on around you right now, and you don't need to hire a psychic to tell you what's happening. You say, well, that's out of alignment, and that's out of alignment, and I still don't have my freedom here, and I still don't have my abundance there. This is coming from trauma. That's it, you guys. Because if you do not have absolute freedom and abundance in your reality right now, it is coming from an old trauma. It is that simple. And what I gave my class permission to do last week, just because it was such a heightened energy, is you can always command this body, command the me, myself, and I, and you can say, inner child, take me to my trauma. Ego, take me to my trauma. That is in the way of what I am limited by right now. And if you say that with intention, with deep breath, the breath that can get all the way into the root chakra, then what will happen is you will have a little flash of a memory. And this memory might not make sense to you. It might be illogical. It might be random. It might have nothing to do with what's going on in your system right now or in your life right now, but it is a clue. And it is a major clue of why and when you created these belief systems that's still interrupting your flow. Because you know what the higher self is? Pure positive abundance, freedom, and excitement. That's it. That's all the higher self actually is. So when we're not living as if, something else is vibrating its character and its story in the place. So look at the places you feel really, really stuck, right? I would say right now the game on the planet, which is what most people are kind of struggling with, is relationships. Okay, I know the money thing is still there, but love and money, same frequency. And learning how to really be present in our relationships and deal with a trigger more intimately instead of vocally outside of us. You know, that's what we did our warrior training for. We did this big workshop called Warrior Training, where it was basically we dove in and we found our inner narcissist, we found our inner perpetrators, we found the victim programs that we're running, and we took responsibility for them. But this layer that we're in right now, June 2019, is basically, it requires more of your patience. And when I say patience, what I mean is preparation. So preparation, how can you prepare to go into these deeper, deeper places this month? Go into the deeper places, means more expansion. More clearing of the past means more catalyst points for the future. And that's another cool thing about this time of year, is especially in 2019, is we've never had more potential. We've never had more opportunities than we do right now. We've never been presented with so many amazing things that we want to do. You know, for a long time, we didn't walk around like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I see that kind of coming to an end, especially with our light worker community. You know, what you're realizing is that you don't need this big 3D egoic purpose anymore. You need the purpose that burns excitement in your soul and helps your heart expand. That's the purpose that you're holding on to right now. The one that is calling forth inside of you, and that you're finally listening to, and you're finally starting to take action on, and you're realizing, I didn't need some big giant silly purpose. I just want to be happy. I just want to help people. I want to be free. I want to be able to, you know, be myself completely. And who knew that me being myself could inspire other people? By me being truly myself could help other people become themselves. Wow, that's a purpose? Absolutely. That's the best purpose you could possibly have, is to be an example on this planet. To be an example of someone who heals themselves and is an example to others of the potential that awaits for you. Because really, we always contract before we expand. Everything in the universe always contracts before it expands, because it needs momentum. It needs that force to change. That's why you guys, we make the biggest changes in rock bottom. We have to contract all the way in so that we can come all the way out, and then we can expand out. So what's waiting for us if we really will stop being afraid of fear and trying to cover up our grief and, you know, living in resentment instead of just allowing yourself to go all the way into anger? You know, I did a post about resentment last week. And resentment is an interesting frequency because it's passive, which means it's hidden inside of you. It is something that you keep festering within because you're either too nice of a person to be angry, or you've never been allowed to be angry. That's when you use resentment. I've noticed a lot of women who are just living in resentment. And it is usually because of so many factors. Now, I'm not saying guys don't live in resentment too, but because it's a very passive emotion, it is something that women find naturally. It's a way to sieve and boil inside without hurting anyone else's feelings. But if you've ever been around anyone who has resentment for you, you can feel it. It's like you can cut the tension with a knife. So guys, we're not hiding this. We are not hiding our resentment. But let me tell you what resentment actually does to your physical body. It completely destroys your hormonic flow of the way that your hormones work. It screws with your serotonin level, it screws with your dopamine levels, and it actually drains the body of any sort of life force energy, which means, believe it or not, resentment is a form of fight or flight. And if you're in a form of fight or flight because you're angry, right, but you're not allowing yourself to be angry, which means you're suppressing it, and then you're putting on a happy face for the world, and then watching someone's every move and seeing how much more you resent them, even by the way that they breathe, you are actually killing your own body. Now, I didn't know that because I lived in resentment for a really, really long time because I was the empath that didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want to, you know, be the angry person. And I also, to be honest, didn't know how. I didn't know how to be angry. I saw anger as disgusting. I saw anger as something that was really low vibration. But then I felt resentment, and I didn't know that what I was doing was I was hurting myself. I was living in the past, and I was manufacturing my vision of the future based in this resentment. So every time this person or place or thing was around me, I was destroying any potential of it because of what I underlying thought, which means I just wouldn't let myself go into anger. And you know what's under anger is grief. You're sad. You're sad these relationships are not working. You're sad that you can't be yourself. You're sad that you don't have the freedom. You're sad that you work so effing hard and you still don't have the money. You're sad that you're doing all this healing work and the body's not shifting as fast as you want. Just be honest. It's like if there was ever a serious, honest month, I would say that let it be June. Because if we can kind of use this Gemini energy to look at different aspects of ourselves, and then we can use this Cancer energy that's coming as a place to emotionally break down. Just do it. You know, we've been practicing the art of purging in my community for like the last 5 years. And we've been purging as low as we can go. And then we've got to rise up again. We've got to rise into higher self. We got to live our lives. And then we go back into the abyss. And each time we get higher, we can get lower. And if we can get lower, there will be a bottom. And that bottom will be basically the blueprints of where it all started and it was all created. And you'll know that you've reached that particular blueprint if there's an area in your life that's really thriving, that's not getting caught up in relationship drama or stuck energy or lack of abundance. It is flowing, it's purely moving, it's working for you. Congratulations, you guys. You have cleared out that portion of your abyss, but you are multi-dimensional, or AKA bipolar, right? It's the idea of us being one version of ourselves today and one version of ourselves tomorrow. And the reason why is because different influences and patterns around you bring out different versions of you. And these different versions of you are not always healed as much as the version of you yesterday. So today you're going to go, wow, hello, depressed self. Welcome to the party. Let's go into your depression. Depression is suppressed energy. Let's dive deep. What about this environment right now is bringing up depressed self? What about this environment right now is bringing forth sad self, angry self, miserable self, resentful self, frustrated self, scared self? Because really, you guys, we cannot spiritually bypass anymore. You know, we've been learning about that for years, but you'll find that nothing is going to help you avoid. Nothing. And if it does, it'll be for about 30 seconds, because as soon as you turn the corner, you're going to see it again. It might have a different face. You might be in a different place, but you're going to see it. And if you continue to see it, and it's something called chronic, your higher self is basically picking you up and putting you right back into the fire, because it's saying, this right here, this is it. This is the nugget. If we can face this, if we can heal the trauma around it, if we can choose to see it differently, we can observe it differently, and then we can act differently, this will be forever gone. That's what higher self is saying to us right now. But we're like, feel bad, feel bad, feel bad, feel bad. I'm done feeling bad. I want to feel good. Okay, we didn't get the root. We did not get our root yet. And you know what? Who cares if it takes you the rest of the year to find some of these roots? Look at how much we will accomplish if we actually set the intention, you guys, in June, that instead of reaching for everything that feels the most exciting, right, that we look for what is in the way of our excitement. What is in the way of your excitement? Because even the things that excited you right now, if they're being constantly stepped on by the trigger, it's not going to motivate you anyways. See, highest excitement is your inner child and your higher self beckoning you. Come this way, come this way, come this way, right? But if you start moving forward in your excitement and you hit a trigger, boom, then that is supposed to be there for you. It's not a roadblock, it's an obstacle. It's a challenge. It's there for you to say, I need to look this issue in the eyes and I need to get present about it. And maybe I wasn't in my body when my mom told me I wasn't good enough. And that's why I latched onto my best friend and I latched onto my dad and whatever. But now I actually have to face the fact that my mom may have believed that. And how do I feel about that? And how do I feel about myself believing that? And going into these depths and deep places within that true belief system that you're still holding on to that isn't true at all. But you see that the unconscious and the subconscious are manifesting your reality. And until we find out what is in there that is in the way, we won't really ever move forward. We'll just be on the hamster wheel. And we are moving forward because we are doing this work. And you're not doing this work all alone. You know, the ascension energies that are on this planet right now are helping you move tremendous amounts of trauma. The exhaustion, the headaches, the split personality feelings, the dream states that you guys are feeling, the aches and pains, the shift in consciousness, feelings like such different people in any given day. Have you noticed that one? Where like you literally just wake up and you're like, feel like you have all different tastes and all different things and all different thoughts, and the next day you feel different. You know, we're being divinely supported in our actions right now. But this is really a 50-50 relationship, because we're in a partnership with this ascension, which means that the partnership is about meeting each other halfway. And although we can get swept up by the energies on the planet right now, if we don't have a formula or action steps or awareness of what's happening, we might feel crazy. We might feel alone. You know, this is going to be a really, really high year. And I'm not saying this to manifest. I'm looking at the potentials for suicide and death. And think about what's underneath those vibrations. You know, someone who can't hold on anymore. What traumas and feelings are they not being allowed to feel, not feeling supported to feel? The aloneness that we've all felt at some point on this journey. The fact that we are in amazing spiritual communities, yet we still feel like the outsider. Like, where is all of this coming from? Where does this stuff come from? And it comes from basically how we began to see ourselves in our first 7-year cycle. And that first 7-year cycle dictated the patterns that are running right now. So we have an opportunity, you guys. We have a lot of awareness, more awareness than we've ever had before. Our higher self is integrating in and becoming. Those first 3 chakras, the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, are healing for the first time. Really? I mean, we've done a lot of work, which means that Kundalini energy is beginning to rise, and it's beginning to move, and it's beginning to make amazing things happen for us. So no matter how difficult right now feels for you, on the other side of that is ecstasy. It's adventure, it's freedom, it's crazy abundance, it's new structures, new systems, new relationships, and new patterns that you are basically building out of light. Because when we clear density, then the body fills with light. And when light is guiding, you can imagine then the heart can really, really, really begin to open and lead. You know, we've been doing a good job leading through our heart-based work. But notice how ego always happens to get in there somehow. You know, your business partner, your money, your conflict, your contracts. It's like no matter how much you're working to be heart-led, the ego presence, the dense energies, the shadows are still lurking. So every time we make this forward momentum to bring more light into the body, we make more space for higher self to live and breathe and feel and think with this body. So the work that you're doing has never, ever, ever been more important than now. And if you're part of my community, we're working in these classes every single week. We're gearing up for a huge workshop called I Am, which is basically what I just gave you guys in this 30-40 minutes in a 10-week, 12-week workshop that helps us basically get to the deepest parts of our abyss with assistance. You know, I mean, I think one of the main reasons why we haven't been able to go as deep as we've needed to go is because we're not supposed to go alone. We've been doing everything alone on this planet. Even some of our spiritual work. We go out, we meet the public, we meet our clients, and we go back in, and we're alone. You know, and there's this energetic wall that keeps us safe from each other. Even though we love each other, there's still that wall. So until that wall completely collapses and the heart is completely out of the jail cell and moving and living and breathing and creating with you, then we've got to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to contract and expand, contract and expand. And that's really the mission that we're on as a collective, especially as empaths and light workers. You know, the words that I'm saying you're resonating with because you're already here, you're already doing this. My job is just to put a little bit of a confirmation and connect the dots for you so that you can understand when things are going right and wrong, everything is on purpose. Every roadblock is just a challenge. It's an opportunity to meet yourself in the mirror. It's an opportunity to change your mind, because when we were little, We didn't have access to filling up our belief systems based on what we chose. We were taught to believe whatever was safe for us to believe. And what that did was it created a separation between us and our higher selves. And we created this ego identity that moved into the body and began to live and breathe and think for us. And all along, higher self has never been far away. It's been slightly outside the body or inside the body during meditation, or inside the body with healing, but then has to reside outside of the body when you're in a conflict or when you're feeling shame or guilt, because the higher self does not lower its vibration ever. It stays in love or above, and it can only be living and breathing in this body, in harmony with this body, when the body is resonating love. So you see the work that we have to do, but you see what's coming for you. Endless potentials. All the things that you've ever dreamed of, that you've ever wanted as a little child, are still waiting for you. You're probably noticing that you're manifesting a lot of these things that you've always wanted. You're like, I totally forgot I wanted that. And it's here. So imagine what you could do the deeper you go. So I guess this is a call to action for all of us light workers, is let's see how deep we can go this month. Let's see if we can create awesome support systems. You know, if you don't feel like you can do this alone, get yourself a mentor. I have plenty of mentors on my staff that would lovingly guide you through any dark night you have, any hideous storm, to the rainbows. And you guys, you can do this. We can do this. We are here. We have arrived. We're at the end, not the beginning. We have survived all of the hardest parts. All we're doing right now is coming full circle. And when we come full circle, we have an opportunity to be that little child with a choice. We can be that little girl, that little boy that says yes or no, thank you. We can do that now, you guys. We're like grown-ups. I know it doesn't feel like it, but we are. And we can make our own choices. And we can speak our truth. And we can tell people how we want to be treated. And if they don't honor that, we have an opportunity to leave. We can do that, you guys. We can do all of these things. We can do all these very hard things, and we can do them with love. And it's first and foremost love to self, because you have to understand that honoring yourself first then teaches you how to be in healthy relationships. Honoring others before yourself keeps you locked away, hidden from your own traumas, and it just ignites the match for later on. This is my June message. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any interest in joining our classrooms that we have here on Facebook, you can reach out to me, jessalstrom@gmail.com, or you can reach out to my team right here on Facebook. I have a subscription group that's $22 a month, and we do live Q&As in there. Nothing's off limit. Nothing's off limited. We have tons of workshops, and I do a live class in there every week. We just did a class about this last week, and it was amazing. So thank you for all of my students that are already part of that group. Otherwise, I hope you join us on our tour circuit. We have coming up right now Quantum Revolution in September. You can find out information on our website. And if you're not a subscriber on YouTube yet for my channel, and you're just hearing me for the first time because some random person shared my video in your group, you can find me on YouTube, Jessica Alstrom. You can subscribe. And I've got probably 400 or 500 videos about these topics for the last 5 years for you to geek out to and fall asleep to and download with. And, you know, thank you all for letting me have this forum and this space and this time to bring all of this together for you. And I cannot wait to see you on the flip side.